What's up, everybody? Kind of a dreary day today. We're in the studio. This is someday I'll get a flat file or an architect's file. I kind of actually want to put it under this table so that there's just 3 or 4 drawers on either side that pull out. Anyway, something for large format stuff. We do design/build here, which means I try to work soup to nuts with a customer who has some ideas and help them with their ideas, and then reduce, the scope until we've got something manageable, and then fully describe that thing, and then go ahead and make that thing, and hopefully, really meet a lot of their requirements for budget and, the fun stuff too, of course. So we've got all kinds of things around here. This is my place and plans I've got for the future, hand sketches and drawings and anatomy stuff, and a camper from our portfolio from a few years ago. I use a lot of I do a lot on real paper, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so this is the deck that comes after this deck. So this year we're going to look at 2 giant decks. Oh, here's a thrust, it would be kind of called, for the porch out front that would allow us to have like a table for dinner with friends. So anything that kind of comes to mind, I sketch out. Here's a friend's building here that exists, to this point. So the conversation comes up like, oh, I'd love to, as you're kind of standing there, kind of go this direction. We'd go higher. The gable would go the other direction. I could put a car lift in there. The door could be larger, and yada yada. So given that, this is what he's got for a building. So I do this much more and give you a sense within a few minutes, really, of what you're going to be talking about, so that everybody's visualizing the same thing. So here's the deck and the way that it started. Let's go back to the computer so we can look at the whole project. This is our production value here. We've been to the site already. I think we poked our heads out into the backyard. So generally speaking, this is what it looks like. There's the tree and the old stone foundation, and you enter, kind of the yard here. And so we thought, well, you go up and on, and then she wants to put French doors in the house here. So, coming out from inside, or this is sort of the loop for, traffic. So this was actually carried over from 2020. This has been a year. These photos are more than a year old, from March 2020. We were looking at doing this then, and we've kind of hit pause, and now, we're back. So it's exciting to finally get this stuff here. Here's, the first direction we took, like I was talking about, entering, coming up, 2 kind of joist bays, a carrying beam kind of planer with the face of this gable end here, and joists toward the house, and as well as joists out to a second beam here with a dog-eared corner. And so from above, I think this is what we're talking here. How would that work? And generally speaking, the size and the number of posts. And just to get to a rough number, these are things that we can quickly do by hand. Then we sort of changed it, and I started to incorporate the tree. Once again, bring the deck fully out flush with this gable, but we were half as far with the posts for the pergola. So kind of a reduced size pergola, kind of tippy toes in the water as far as how much. Actually, for the money, the size of a pergola can be pretty enormous. All this will be rough sawn larch from, Farmer John, in the middle of nowhere. He's got a great price for that. So anyway, we started by being conservative here, and it ended up getting, pretty liberal. But the biggest conversation point was in this conversation was, let's curve this outer edge. That'd be pretty cool. Incorporate the tree. I can get those cast iron 2-part finishing, tree grates at a place in Buffalo. And, wouldn't this be cool? Full width stairs. Like she had seen that deck that I think maybe the end screen on these videos pointed to the other deck from a few years ago that I constructed. So that had full width stairs, like the wedding cake style, basically. And then I added, some items in the background here to round out the views. These are our videos and stuff that are yet to come, and we've already tore the wall apart. But now we're down to more like this here. And so, we've got the ability to show the door that we actually bought, which we'll go and look at, which is enormous, and $6,500. But it was an error, so we got it for $4,000 delivered out the door with a full warranty. It's brand new. It has a small blemish that we'll look at, which is basically well worth the price adjustment. It's like 35% off or something. excellent, wonderful quality. Three-dimensional grids on both sides will all be like in keeping here with the arched top. It's one of the coolest things that happen, and we wouldn't have shown that here before because we wouldn't have necessarily jumped in on a $6,000 or $7,000 door before. But I believe that arch is going to inform a lot more about this project, and we're going to bring in that arc into the pergola beams here on the front. We may take them back in on either side of the lane that goes back to the door. The lane, the center lane has a higher top than to either side, which informs traffic flow and implies like a reprieve or, area for furniture to collect, helps feng shui kind of happen. And, you maintain, and you can bring in a light feature here or a couple of these string lights, up and above. You've got the ability to put signage or monogram stuff like over the door, and everything kind of starts to fall into place. The curved lower section here, I'm still showing that, which I believe we're going to do, but I've taken the corners off of the cast iron grill or grate. That further customizes it and obviously makes it more of a coaxial kind of a drip ripples kind of forms happening here. We got the tree itself, and then the grate itself, and then the arc around that, and then we've got arcs in here and arcs in there. Things start to collect speed and roll downhill, which is cool. Not to be confused with shit rolling downhill, because this is a very pricey project with a very high level of craftsmanship. That's the plan. I liked pulling the posts out, and so basically the beam, so you have a choice here to put the beam on our side of these posts or on the far side of these posts, whether you laminate it on with the correct hardware or you notch it in. I'm going to put it on the far side of the post, which allows the back side of it, the side facing us, to be essentially the face of this first step. But that also means that the post itself will cut through that first step and appear to land on the second step down. But that divides these openings in a nice kind of a finished way, and it involves like a visual cope, a three-dimensional visual cope all the way around the end of that post rather than just flat. And I think that I love the full width stairs, but they get to be a little redundant back here. And obviously it's greater than 20 feet, so I've got to start, where's my sketches for that? So then I have to start scarfing, this is that drawing itself, come on, now here it is. Then I've got to start scarfing the appearance boards across the front to make one, smooth plane. These are actually back a whole joist base, so it would be like this but nearer, but still a flat bottom that appears to die into the surface of the deck boards. So anyway, over here, I'm, really making a mountain out of a molehill here. But this is what you get out of forethought. Will it look like that? Or, will it, look like this, but, a bit closer, or even like this where it's further away? These are nuanced things. It still is kind of the same number of posts. It's essentially just about the same amount of work, but it entirely changes the scene here. So I think this is, even further down the road toward what we were headed to do. Here is our model, which is a next level, to the process. This allows us to be scale accurate. So I did a field measure of the house, and and I laid out what we had for a plan here. This doesn't show the posts as I described. This is like the alternative, like I'm talking about. Just fine. Certainly nothing wrong with that. I may have seen something like that and gone, oh, cool, but missed an opportunity to, get that, to pop out through the face of this stair. And a lot of people would say, it looks great, as is. It does. It does look great as it is. I like it the other way for this project. So things like that can come, from being able to see things in real life. I'm not exactly sure. I think we're having a failure here. I didn't build it exactly centered on the tree because in the end we're probably not. It's difficult. The tree isn't circular. We'll be closer than that, obviously. But we've got a raised section here. I haven't scalloped the beam. Things like that don't go into the model because it's paid time, and I know I'm going to do it. If it really, maybe when the time comes to do it and everything else is, we really like it. Do you want to do that? Don't you? I'll come back and I'll do it to the model. We'll look at the model. We'll make a yay or a nay decision, and we'll go from there. It'll also be centered. Here's another kind of pitfall. I don't want to see this happen. I don't want far less reveal to the left of the door or to the right or vice versa, and that's where we'll talk in the coming video about getting this just right and making a commitment to the door and then making a commitment to drilling our posts so that something like this doesn't happen, because you can see what kind of a failure that would be in terms of a grand entrance here, and everything just kind of takes a shit on you when it's like, what happened? What what was the problem there? So and things like we got to clear this eave. We don't want, there's a gutter in here and stuff like that. We don't get anywhere near there. So that pushes our post location to there. And we have this weird, area here, and this entire corner would have been cantilevered. Our carrying beam coming out this way, and our rim joist that way, and it's quite a big cantilever here, all things considered. So we'll end up with a post there, and then I don't need a 20-footer like the rest of these will be, or these are 16s and these are 20s. I can use an 8, because ultimately he'll be a little too long, and we'll cut him down and we'll put a small section of guard with rail through that, there, and it'll go with whatever we do here. This is kind of a craftsman thing right now. Not sure, but it's a bit heavy and asymmetrical to have such a long section of guard, which you absolutely need there. And there isn't room to cascade the stairs down and really go anywhere meaningful there, so you really kind of have to do it that way. And it's, to meet code, you got to have a guard there. But there's just nothing here. As you can see, this is a bit funkily in a funky kind of way. It's heavy on the left as a result of all those little physical details. A small piece of that here kind of helps us balance that. And then we may take off with a little stub handrail, just boop, and a little boop, and maybe even 1, 2 there, or maybe just 2 in the center because that's where most of the traffic is. Who knows here? But things that aren't worth modeling right now until we get to the point of where we really want to look at it and make a decision. But then we can be sure of what we're talking about in real life because the scale is correct. And I can make all kinds of drawing views of this and break it out and look at the exact stud layout. And if I have, funny angles or curves and stuff, I can start to be technical and translate those to the real world and make things meet up. If I need to know how long of a piece I need to bend, and rather than pulling a string around what I've got out here, I can kind of get a measurement of that curve there and start with, that straightens out to 20 feet, or it's greater than that, so I'll have to do it in a couple of pieces. It's a nice way of gaining information about, what you plan to build so you can do a good job of it. This is just Autodesk Inventor, which is a mechanical program. It's a bit of a stretch to use it for architectural things, but not too much. And somewhere in here, there was an earlier version that I glossed over. Oh, on the CAD drawings, I guess I only produced it in CAD. There was a point at which we didn't carry the stairs all the way across. We were talking about, at an earlier version, but after I'd done a model, we were talking about having, bench seating here to the left and the right, and behind that, like a built-in planter that would just get a plastic, container down in there to hold the dirt and stuff like that. And you really only have stairs here, and you'd have so much more guard to either side. And so, we've done a fair amount of messing around here and to try and, decide on what we're going to do. And so let's go over to the site itself. We'll check out that door, and we'll break ground. We'll open up the wall and start talking about making all these things jive so that it looks a lot better than the model when we get to the real thing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.